How much of the inflation risk have you seen play out in the bond markets in China? Because that's the story globally.
Yeah, I think so far it's been fairly limited. In fact, if you look at bond yields year to date, they have actually been fairly range bound to even somewhat towards the lower end for the year. And that's despite inflation concerns picking up globally. I think it speaks to a very different dynamic in China. Well, firstly, on the growth cycle, China we know is ahead and of the recovery. And in that sense, the bond sell-off had already happened towards the end of last year. But more importantly, also the inflation dynamic in China is somewhat special because we do have a big headwind coming from the sense of lower food prices, in particular pork prices. And for the next foreseeable months, between the next 4 to 6 months, we do expect pork prices, food prices in particular, to continue to come down because of base effects. And that will keep CPI inflation towards 2% or below, at least until the third quarter, and possibly pick up towards 2.5% at the end of this year. Again, these numbers are lower than what we are seeing in the US. And it is also testament to the difference of the economic cycle. And also, I think the reality is that historically, if you look at pass-through, from PPI inflation to consumer price inflation, it's been fairly low. It's been about 1/5 of that goes through, and that's because Chinese companies have been extremely competitive downstream. They've been absorbing their price increases through narrowing profit margins. And in that sense, the pass-through in inflation to China typically, I think, is less than what we see in other markets.
Right. And finally, Wilfred, before we go, what about the default risk? In the case of tightening, how high would you place that risk right now in China?
Sure, I think it has already started to pick up at the end of last year, and we would expect default rates to continue to pick up going forward. I think this fairly solid economic recovery in China is giving authorities a bit more confidence to allow some names to default. We having the state-owned enterprises, a couple of them go under end of last year, kind of addresses the moral hazard issue. Earlier this year in January, February, we saw some of large offshore dollar bond issuers also default, kind of addressing the issue of too big to fail. So I think this is something that we would expect to pick up gradually, and the economic recovery is providing, I think, a positive environment for defaults to pick up, because the last thing you want to see is default rates pick up in a recession, and that really means that the system is in trouble.